take two. Here we go. We're live. Welcome to 8 Times Up Outdoors, the crappy YouTube channel that sends out some amazing Patreon swag. We are here joined by a special guest. We got Will from the podcast here. Say hello, Will.
Hello, everyone.
I was like, you do that so much better. The handoff thing, I tried and I screwed it up.
Yeah, but I'm also really good at giving it back. So you said say hello, and I did exactly what you instructed me to, unlike my compatriot who will then proceed to speak for an hour.
Yes, and just hijack everything. So
right.
Yeah, Will is here. I met Will like 6 years ago. He runs an incredible podcast and now YouTube channel called The Podcast, which is all about bourbon, and kind of journaled their bourbon journey for a lot of years. So that's how we kind of got connected. And then this year, somehow, we talked Will into coming all the way to Colorado to do a fishing trip. So we're going to chat about that a little and just kind of dive in and see how things are going. Chris is in another state right now, checking in from a fancy hotel room.
Oh, it's so fancy. The bare minimum.
I mean, it's probably a step up from the Taylor cabin, but
yeah, there's less mice.
So does it have heat? Because
yeah, it's got electric heat.
Yeah, and running water, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So
it's got all the amenities.
I was like, Will got spoiled because we actually did have running water this year.
Yeah, Will didn't have the privilege of fetching a bucket of water.
Yeah, and after one of those days, I feel like it would have been a multiple trip to the river.
It always
just
is.
To get the toilets flushed.
Yeah, we have definitely had a few of those. So.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so let's start with this, Will. I know fly fishing is pretty new to you. Last couple of years, is that about right?
Yeah. Yep.
How did that journey start? Where did that kind of begin? Did you fish as a kid, or is this all brand new?
Yeah, I fished as a kid quite a bit. Golf course ponds were my jam. I lived in Central Florida, so there was a lot of standing water around. And so we had a lot of golf course ponds that had, smaller sized bass and a lot of brim in them. Do y'all call them brim in Colorado? You know what I'm talking about when I say brim? Like a panfish, like a bluegill, sunfish.
Bluegill.
Yeah, those are we call them brim. And I'm not even sure what the official spelling of brim is, but I think it's BREAM. So which I think you'd pronounce bream if you were phonetically spelling it, but
we're talking about Florida, so
exactly. Well, all of the South is we call it brim, but and I'd go fishing with my granddad a lot when I was a kid. When I'd go visit, see, Cody knows.
There you go.
Brim. But we'd go fishing in Alabama, and mostly bass and panfish and things that we'd take home and fry it up that night. But I always thought fly fishing was interesting, but never thought it was something I would be technically able to do just because it looks so intimidating. And it turns out it is difficult and intimidating, but actually it was like during the pandemic when I think a lot of people actually got into fly fishing and like, what are things you can do outdoors, try to learn a new skill and waste a lot of time, before having to go back inside for a while. That's when I started, fishing a little bit more as an adult again, and then picking that up as well. So, so it's been the last couple of years I've really gotten back into it as opposed to childhood. And then, we dabbled in college, which was mostly just Keystone Light on the bank of a municipal pond. So that's it.
That's still fishing.
Well, right. Yeah.
I was like, we're not much beyond that. We're just Keystone Light
Sure.
on a boat now.
Right.
So,
prettier scenery than the Auburn, Alabama municipal pond that you paid $3 to fish in. So
there you go. So I do want to know, like, we used to go to like the golf course ponds when I was in college in California, but that was all illegal. Like
Mhm.
we had to like hop fences and like sneak in. But is that the same thing, or was that like, is it you can just go fish and
Yeah, so it was like we lived in like a golf course community. So the course kind of like weaved through the neighborhood. There was no fences or anything I had to jump. It was just kind of a part of the neighborhood feature. So uh I don't know if it was explicit that you were allowed to, but I fished in that for my entire childhood and was never once told I shouldn't be doing it. So, and they had things like small bass in it that didn't get there naturally and have no reason to put them in a small golf course pond unless they expected someone to retrieve it for a minute.
well, half the lakes in Colorado have bass in them because people just felt like putting them in there. So
Right.
they're not natural here either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You know what I got out of that? He grew up on a golf course. He was predestined to be a fly fisherman.
Oh man, I'm not a good golfer, so I didn't pick golf back up because I'm just like there's no hope there. I've probably broken more windows with golf balls than I've made pars. So
You got one of those Charles Barkley swings?
Yeah.
That's funny. So I mean, and jump in whenever, Chris, if you got questions or whatever, don't feel like so it was probably a year ago we started throwing out the offer of like, hey, if anyone wants to come to Colorado and come on this fishing trip, y'all are welcome. And this group of buddies we have that kind of met up through the podcast group, and we actually had two people that were originally lined up to come this year, and then as it got closer, I always wait until like there's some skin in the game, because over the years, I mean, Chris and I have probably invited 50 to 100 different guys on this trip, and usually it's 8-9 guys that show up. We had a couple extras this year, and then one day Will just sent a text message with his flight confirmation, and I was like, oh crap, like we're in it, like he's in it now. So
He's committed.
yeah. And so I want to know, because I know the environment you walked into, but what are you thinking as you're drinking wild turkey in the air coming to Western Colorado for this trip?
Well, one that was especially because of the amount of time, since like air travel had been normal. Now I can't tell you the last time I was on a plane without like a travel companion. So that was just kind of like a year's separated experience in and of itself of like, oh man, I'm just flying out to part of the country I've never been to. I've been to eastern part of the state of Colorado, but I've never been to western part of Colorado, and to go do a trip with, I knew you and Nate, Ty, but other than that, the vast majority of the people had no real connection at all. So it was, as an introvert, there were, not hesitations, but definitely like, oh, what's this going to be like kind of situation. But I was super excited. So it was a lot of fun traveling out there, also solo, because I could indulge in those wild turkeys without judgment at early. Well, I mean, there were probably judgment, but not from people I know at the hours that I was having the wild turkeys. So that was fun. And then experiencing the Montrose airport by yourself is, I'm actually glad I didn't have like my family and kids with me, because it kind of gets to be a little bit of a circus there, trying to find your bags in your rental car.
Yeah. Montrose Airport is a mess right now. So your luggage is outside. You like walk out of security through some weird hallway by the bathroom with someone yelling at you to not turn around. Like, yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. So
I did love that because it was it Columbus Day weekend? There seemed to be a lot of people on the Thursday that I was getting there arriving around the same time. Like it was a pretty busy time of day that people were coming in, and the the poor people at the rental car counters, completely understaffed for the amount of people coming in. And this guy was trying to hawk this car off to every couple that got up there. I'm going to make you a deal. I'm going to make you a deal. And all of them were like, I want my Tahoe. And so I get up there and he's like, how many people are in your party, sir? And I'm like, it's literally me in my suitcase, not knowing that Nate was going to ride with me, fortunately, over the mountain. He's like, man, I'll make you a really good deal if you'll take this car and it's ready right now. It's $100 for the entire 4 days that you're. I'm like, that is saving me $220. I'm down. And ended up in a clown car, Nissan, not Nissan, Chevy Spark. Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
And so it was Ty knows my deep love for the clowning community. So rolling up with a bunch of giant Western Colorado trucks that were hauling boats in my little, I mean, it was probably a 2-stroke engine in that thing. And I had to mix the fuel at the gas station to put into the car. It was great. So.
You had to swing by and get that 0 ethanol to make sure the mix was all right.
Yeah, at that altitude, it was probably going to get gummy in the carburetor anyways. So
Zach Jones throwing a little reference over to the podcast and Will flying Spirit there.
No, it was Southwest all the way, man. Only the finest when it comes to Greyhound of the skies. So
that's right. I mean, Southwest flying into Montrose was a game changer for us. That's big news.
That was a big deal that I could get close and not have to change airlines because Nashville's not the largest airport either. So it's not like Atlanta, you can get probably, Delta or United or something larger to Denver and then take a regional jet. But I was concerned that I'm probably just gonna have to fly into Denver and take a little bit of a haul to get there. But yeah, that Southwest flight was quite nice.
Yeah,
I find it interesting seeing as how I just flew into Atlanta airport 2 days ago that you say that airport is the most inconvenient setup I have ever envisioned.
Oh, 1,000%. Yes. Yeah. It's not a great airport, but it has a lot more offerings when it comes to airlines. So.
I'll give you that. But man, they our baggage got offloaded, and then they walked it to us. It might have been part of what it contained, but they walked it to us.
Yeah, that's not a normal thing. That's a you thing.
When you're traveling with a bunch of deer carcass, they got to make sure it goes to the right guy.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure this is Jeremy, our the chef from the weekend, tuning in.
Extraordinaire.
So that's right. All right. So,
that was excellent.
Oh, we're going to come back to that, but we got to dive into. So Will gets there. He rolls up in the right shoe of a clown outfit into the mountains. I think at that point we had started cornhole and that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
talk us through is this your first time fishing in Colorado? What was that initial experience like? I mean, Chris and I have talked a lot about Taylor as a special place for us for sure. But I like hearing people that are coming in and seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, I really had no real concept of what it was going to look like, or even the area. You kind of described, we're in a cabin by the dam and on the Taylor River, and there's the reservoir, but didn't really have a concept of what it would look like or entail. And I mean, like I said, the extent of my fishing experience is Tennessee as the northern boundary. Well, except for this summer, I did go when we went to Maine. I did take a rod with me and fish some in Maine, but that was very brand new experience. Mostly, like I said, ponds, streams, rivers in Tennessee down to Florida. So just in the southeast. So no real mountain fishing, no rustic fishing, really just day trips and everything. I'd never been on a fishing kind of adventure or weekend type thing. So just that drive from Montrose to where we were staying was just the aspens were yellow and you're going through valleys and over smaller hills as you look at all the Rockies in the background. And because it's a good thing that I didn't go over a larger hill or mountain in the Spark, because I would have had to abandon it and call for backup. But just that drive was so pretty. And driving by, is it Blue Mesa? Is that the one reservoir kind of on the way up? And I mean, it was just gorgeous. And then getting to that last little stretch where there's like cows grazing in the middle of the road that could have ended my life in that car. It was a surreal experience driving up there, and then pulling up. It was almost like a scene out of a movie, because it's like y'all are just like having beers, throwing the cornhole bags, and everything's parked out, and there's a fire already going. And I was like, okay, this is going to be perfect, even if the fishing is terrible, just because it's like this setting and the scenery and just the ability to unplug for a few days. Terrible cell service, which is great. And I don't know, it was exciting getting up there. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm glad that Ty didn't really try to describe this, because you can't. Like, it's just so beautiful. And just a spot of the country that I've never really seen something like that. And you can't do it justice describing it. And so I have a few like key pictures I've taken. Like, one is from the little bridge right outside the cabin, facing where you see kind of like a valley in the river, and there was like the yellow trees, and then a couple from up near the dam looking back at the mountains. And I'm like, this is just kind of gives you a little bit of a grasp of what this looks like, but you really can't describe it until you see that place. So
right,
like it's a little slice of heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were a little worried about taking pictures that your wife may kill you.
Yeah, for sure. She fortunately got to go visit a friend in Colorado Springs last weekend. So she was at like the Garden of the Gods and Pikes Peak. So she had her own beautiful Colorado experience within a couple weeks. If not, I would have never shown her the photos. I would have deleted my iTunes account, my Apple iCloud, and just said, "Nah, it was pretty gross up there, really. Like, bunch of barren trees. They don't have evergreens there."
That's right. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. Gross.
That's funny. Zach Jones. I don't know what this is. Either of you? Green.
Yes.
Oh, that's different. I didn't see the emoji there. Yeah. So
no.
Yeah. Yeah. Depends on who you were on the trip, Zach. Depends on who you were.
We had a bunch of brown liquid fishing that we
did. Oh, hey,
we hit up quite a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah,
but
I felt like that was appropriate to bust out as well.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk fishing. Fortunately, it wasn't crappy fishing. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't the best year, but it was.
Well, that depends.
I think
depends on if you're on red boat or blue boat.
I was like, hey, blue boat got destroyed. Blue boat got destroyed this year.
We had fun and we had some decent fishing. It wasn't just like completely skunked, but you hate my kings, but I think that red boat was king this trip. So
yeah, red boat all the way.
Damn.
Yeah, we had kind of a running bet this year between the two boats about who would catch the most and the largest fish. And yeah, the boat Will and I were on, I don't know if we won at all. We may have won one day. Maybe one, but
we got beaten by Jeremy on the land one day.
Yeah, to be fair, Jeremy beat all of us that day.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, what boat were you guys on?
Yeah, blue boat.
Oh,
like a thing.
Yeah. I'm not going to bring up that video to show to everyone. We're going to skip that one. So, but yeah, talk about that. The fishing. I want to talk about one specific piece, but I want to hear, your thoughts and that kind of stuff on that.
Yeah, I liked that You brought up that I like fly fishing, and that's what I'm doing here in the local stream that I go hit up to relax and everything. But I'm not like anti conventional fishing or anything of that nature. And so I liked that we were trying literally any tactic we could to try to overtake Redboat and still didn't. But it was fun, like that we did some trolling, we did some, let's go try to get some pike over at this part of the reservoir. And I even pulled out the fly rod near the dam and was catching rainbow trout on that. And
Zach is asking,
can you fly fish on a boat, or is it only in rivers? Never fly fished before. So I mean, you definitely can. Pontoon boat, probably not like the ideal setup for fly fishing, but fortunately there was only 3 of us, so it was easy to get like an angle where I'm not going to sling it and catch Ty on the back. But I like that we did a bunch of different stuff, and even like, all right, let's troll for a little bit so we can drink a couple beers, and it was fun. It was good to try the different stuff out.
And half a bottle of Heaven Hill.
Yeah. That, as well as because I've only really, with conventional tackle, really only targeted bass in my life. Like, I've never been outside of this little bubble of that's what you go fish for. And that's what, if you're, or like crappie fishing with little like curly tail grubs and stuff, that we did a lot of crappie fishing in Alabama. And so I don't know. I think just like the side of me that likes to learn new things and different tactics and things, it was really fun getting to try out different styles of lures. Losing a lot of Ty's tackle was fun. But yeah, so I think that was cool to me, is doing something a little bit different than I was used to, and learning a little bit of different tactics. So.
Yeah, I think for the people tuning in that don't know about this trip, so Taylor Reservoir is kind of a unique fishing environment in that you can very specifically target a few different kind of trophy game fish in Colorado. So they have trophy pike, they have trophy lake trout, and then obviously there's the gold medal fly fishing water below the dam as well. And so in a span of 4 days, you get the opportunity to kind of try to do all of that, which is super fun. Sometimes we get kind of locked into a mission and don't adventure out as much. But I think this time, because there was that element of competition where we were trying to beat the red boat, we like, all right, we got to try something new. Let's go do this. And so that was fun this year.
Yeah. I did like also being able to, because in the mornings we'd get up early, go up to the reservoir and go out on the boats. But then afternoons was kind of like whatever you want to do. If you wanted to play cornhole, if you want to sit around and drink, if you want to watch Jeremy cook or take a nap, as some people did. No shade thrown there, but it was cool that we could just walk, 10 yards and be at the stream and just be fishing. So I took advantage of that a few times, of just being able to walk down there with my fly rod, and I actually had zero luck down in the stream, and that was not surprising to me, especially a super technical water where trout are used to seeing amateur fly fishers. they're
used to seeing everything.
That's fair. Yeah. But it was fun to try to get better in that, and be able to just how clear the water was. And you can just see these massive trout just sitting there, just hanging out. And Nate walked up on me one evening, because I'm like, I'm going to go at night. There's not going to be a lot of people there. I'm going to go get a big brown trout, and there was this rainbow trout that had to be this big, and he's just sitting there, and I'm just like, man, I'm going to catch him. He's right there. So I like start throwing flies, and it's coming and just bouncing off his nose. Like, he's like, I'm not going to open my mouth. I do not want that, idiot. And I was so frustrated. And he got Nate hears like me slinging a fly down like on the water, trying to make it as much noise, even see if this thing would just swim away. And it would like move into a different channel and then move right back. And I'm like, stupid fish. So
Dadgummit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's actually kind of a good segue here. So a couple little housekeeping things. One, if you're watching right now, because Will brings all the people, so we've actually got people watching, tuning in live, which is super fun. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hang around till the end of this. We're also going to do a giveaway towards the end of the video. So make sure you do that. But I have a little preview, which Will won't. I don't know if Will would have seen this or not if it showed up in the shared pictures folder. But we have our buddy Coley that was here. So Will's talking about this section of river. This was kind of a freak accident. And I want Chris to tell the story of like how this played out, because it's dumb luck, but it's awesome.
Oh yeah. No, so like Will was saying earlier, like towards the afternoon, how everybody kind of just goes and does whatever they want for a couple hours until we all come back together and eat dinner. Coley had decided that he was going to go downriver and throw a couple of flies in the water and hope for the best. And being as part of 8 Times Up, I elected to fly the drone around and see what I could see and get some good footage. And just it was blind luck on Coley's part and then blind luck on my part. I just flew the drone up in the air and kept an eye on Coley because he was the only one in the group that was fishing that at that particular time. And I didn't really ever anticipate him catching a fish or even the quality of fish that he did catch. And so as I'm watching him fish, I figured I'd just get some B-roll footage and some stuff of him fly fishing, and we'd be able to use it later, and that'd be it. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't hear him because we were so far apart, but based on his body language, like that dude had just hit a home run at the bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, full count World Series. Speaking of which,
the World Series is on. Yeah. Chris has been distracted this whole time.
Chris is like, I got someplace to be. Can we wrap this up?
So I'm going to show, this is a little teaser clip. We're going to release a full video. We're actually trying to get Coley to come talk about it too. This was like 4th cast in. Like it took him 45 minutes to tie crap up, which is why
it's pretty obnoxious, actually, the whole story. But
why I don't like fly fishing is because it took him 45 minutes to tie up, and then he catches this fish 4th cast. So I'll show you this. So the 2 things you got to watch for on this clip: 1, watch for the fish to jump because it's a freaking whale. And then number 2, watch at the end when Coley panics and figures out he doesn't have a net, because that's my second favorite part of this. So, all right, let's check this. There it is. So, yeah, I love that Coley just starts freaking out like, help.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen the footage yet. I knew y'all talked about having it, but watching that fish jump, it was like, it's insane.
Yeah. It was crazy. It
was crazy because like I was so far away, and he he landed the fish. At one point he drops it, and I hadn't gotten a very good shot of it with the drone, and I wasn't close enough that I could grab other cameras and run down there and actually do like proper filming, nor to it's all catch and release there, so he's got to put the fish back safely within a certain period of time. And so I'm like screaming at him at the top of my lungs while holding this drone remote and trying to get close enough to him and yelling at him to show me the damn fish. And it took him quite a while, but eventually he finally like holds it up and pans over so I can actually see it. But it turned out amazing.
Funny.
Yeah, it's a cool story because he ends up getting. So right after you see him waving, what happens off camera is one of our friends, Mike, who's like the oldest guy on this trip pretty much, is running down the road carrying this net, trying to get down to him. And then it happened to be that there was another couple that was down there fly fishing that ended up helping him net the fish and all sorts of stuff. So.
And my favorite thing is what the warning of one of those other fishers had to say.
After Coley drops the fish, I'm yelling at Coley, like, get a hold of that thing. Like, don't put your fingers in its gills, but man, don't let that thing go. And the other girl goes, but they have teeth in their mouth. So
funny.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, you got a little comment here.
Yeah,
so,
looks like my boy's watching.
Yeah, that's
Shout
right.
out to my family, all three, all of them. Lady back at home, Jordan, love you.
And then Jeremy's talking about the music that it was Cousin Curtis. Yeah, shout out to him. I didn't actually ask him for permission to use that clip, but we'll deal with that later. So, yeah,
that's future problems.
Yeah, exactly. Future type problems. So what else, Will, stands out from this trip? I was going to say one of my favorite things was the fly fishing off the front of the pontoon boat. Like you were saying, it wasn't ideal, but it was so much fun, like to watch that unfold. And there was, at one point, I think he landed 3 or 4, like not big rainbows, but decent rainbows right off the shore.
Yeah, I told you they would have been like state records here in Tennessee. So,
so they're like 8 inches?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, they were babies. But what was fun was that we went down by the dam, and because the dam almost has like a natural little current to it, feeding obviously to spillway and where it's going to discharge, I almost used that to my advantage. I would throw like a little nymph and I put a little split shot on it, try to get a little deeper because it's still pretty decently deep there compared to like the stream. And being able to almost utilize that tactic and just, man, those rainbows would just come out of nowhere and just hammer it. I think I hooked a lake trout one near there, but he got off, and then had a pretty decent sized rainbow that also broke off. But yeah, landed 4, I think, there. And that was just a ton of fun. It was just a different experience. Technically still water fly fishing, which is, really popular, especially for like pike, and people go pike fishing, fly fishing all the time. But utilizing that kind of angle to almost drift a nymph into the area, and it worked and was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was super cool. I had never had anyone, do that off the front of the boat. And so kind of knowing that's an option is also kind of a cool thing to be able to do. And like you said, the pike fishing, I think that'd be fun to try.
Yeah.
You'd want a little different setup for fly gear than that. But
oh, for sure. And they, I think you can get like at least steel tippet or something that you can throw like a little short butt section to so that the pike doesn't just completely bite through it.
Right.
But regardless, yeah.
Troy's here.
Oh, gotta wiggle your worm. There was plenty of that. There's plenty of worm wiggling. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not say that. It was all guys.
Yeah.
It was all guys.
I take that back.
Yeah. So, But yeah, we got into a decent amount of lake trout. Nothing crazy huge for the most part, but did manage to, we put lake trout on the boat, I think, every day that we were up there. So
I feel like this was the first time out of 16 plus years.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Give or take, where we were able to actually go out, fish, and target lake trout with the very specific intention of catching lake trout and accomplishing that goal.
Yeah.
And I think obviously Red Boat was more precise in their catching methods. However, Blue Boat still managed to put fish in the boat.
Yeah.
So I feel like out of all the trips I've been on, this trip was probably in the top 3 most successful for that.
Yeah, I would say that's true. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, this is kind of a side note. Chris and I watch a lot of Superior Angling, which is a great YouTube channel from up north region. Not quite Ian Canada country, but getting close. But they do a ton of lake trout fishing. And what I continually found out on this trip is, one, they're full of crap because none of their stuff works. Like, but it was fun to like figure out what was working. And so
is that where you were trying out the jigging that they had kind of talked about? Because you did catch a few fish, that method. And I hooked one with that method, but it got off. So you'll never know. But it was the largest one of the trip.
For sure.
It just happened to get off. So
yeah. No, that's one of, I mean, people and people in Colorado swear by lake trout jigging as well. And that's just, Chris and I both, I don't think we have the attention span for it because we're not very good at it. But we did, I mean, Blue Boat spent way too long that one day sitting there trying to jig because we happened to come across just a pocket of a ton of fish.
We were like on the sonar. It was like a desert oasis mirage for us. I feel like we couldn't get over just fixating on that one spot. And and they were just less than interested.
Yeah, not having it. But the only redeeming factor from that is because we spent like an hour there. Mm-hmm. And then Jeremy called us and was like, hey, I'm catching fish by the dam. And so we booked it out of there and then went and caught more fish with Jeremy. Like we spent an hour in one spot, didn't catch anything. And then in 5 minutes had caught 3 fish with Jeremy. But the only redeeming factor is the next day after everybody had left, my daughter and I went out, just us, and I let her drive the boat. And so I just said, see that spot on the sonar? Drive to that. And so she's like watching the screen and driving. And so we went back to that same spot. And in the first like 5 to 7 minutes, hooked into a lake trout right there. Nice. And so I was like, okay, like they're there, but
I thought you were going to say that the most redeeming part of that was that we spent so much time there. And then Jeremy called us and said, you got to get over here right now. And we pulled up our lines and you floored the pontoon boat, party barge, full speed ahead, going down the reservoir. And then we look off to our left and out of nowhere, like a bat out of hell, comes another pontoon boat just racing up. And you're like, what's going on? Did Jeremy call out just an open message? Like, come over here. And then not long after that, a third pontoon boat emerges and we're all going for the same spot. And you said it reminded you of like a Smokey and the Bandit 2 when they're coming over the hill in the semis.
Yeah. I was like, when the semis come over the hill. Yeah, it was crazy. There was like 3 of us just racing down the thing at all 14 miles an hour we got in those pontoon boats. But no, that was fun. Jeremy was definitely, Chris mentioned it earlier, but Jeremy was a highlight from this year.
For sure.
Yeah, it sure beats like the old days of everybody cooking one meal for everybody. which obviously it shared the workload or spread out the workload and made life easier at times. But like Jeremy made that whole trip 100% a vacation for me. Like I didn't have to do squat.
The fact that like there was such a contrast, right? Because the cabin's rustic. You've mentioned not having running water in the past. It's a wood burning stove that, you know, halfway through the night you start freezing because no one's continuing to feed it. But that it was like rustic, and then the most luxurious thing that could ever be is that when we wake up to go fishing, Jeremy is handing us a hot breakfast that he's cooked for us. And when we get back from fishing, there is lunch made for us and it's delicious. And then we get to play games, drink beer while he's cooking us dinner. Like it was quite fantastic.
Yeah. I think they call that bougie most places.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's for sure. So if you're on Facebook, I think that's all he has at this point, but Twisted Monkey is his kind of private chef catering thing. So make sure to check that out because yeah, he does good work. And if you ever come visit in Colorado, like we will make sure you get some Jeremy food while you're here.
And
so.
I think that's the other thing too, is that it'd be one thing if Jeremy was like, I mean, like I like to cook. I'll make hamburgers for everybody. Just, you know, just something, whatever, simple, but he put so much thought and planning into making an experience for everybody. And it's clearly, you can tell he's passionate about it and it is really talented at it. But the fact that, you know, we're having delicious breakfast burritos and then getting back and having these like ooey gooey double smash burgers and like the steak tips at night or the chili that was homemade. And I mean, just everything was so over the top good that I didn't know what I was looking forward to more, like getting out on the boat fishing or getting back for lunch that I knew was going to be so good because Jeremy was crushing it.
Yeah. I was like the part where I went like, okay, this is next level is when he's bringing out like late night drunken, you know, onion bloom things. Like,
he's like, this is called an onion loaf. I just made a little snack for everybody. It has this special sauce to dip it in. And man, I mean, it doesn't, I wanted it to look a little bit more perfect. We're playing cards, drinking whiskey and eating it. It does not matter at this point. It looks great. I'm going to eat it.
Yeah. It's like 11 p.m. and I'm not having to eat, you know, like beef jerky or dipped in queso. Like all of a sudden, this is fancy.
Right.
You know, we're not microwaving Kraft singles over some chips or anything. Like, it was actually good food.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's nothing like having a bunch of people that are 35 and older resort instantly back to their college eating habits. Like being at Taylor, and then here comes Jeremy, and we're like, wow, there's good food in the world when you're up here.
Yeah, it was a different level for sure. So we're getting close to the end of this. I know, Will, you do this way too often during the week, and so we don't want to keep you on here too long. If you are watching in the future or now, make sure you go over to the Podcask, Podcask on the YouTubes, and I still listen to the podcast version most of the time.
As you should.
Whenever it comes out, you know. So, but go find that, subscribe to that channel as well. They also have a great, if you're a whiskey drinker at some point listening to this, they have a great barrel pick program called Oak and Thieves, where you can get some pretty custom and cool bourbon that you can't get anywhere else. So make sure you go check that out. But I do want to do this. If you are watching, which there's like 11 people tuned in, if you're watching this, make sure if you haven't commented at any point tonight, make sure you comment. I'm going to grab this. We have a giveaway that we'll do for someone that tuned in tonight. Let me grab it without wrecking everything.
Oh, bother. I wonder if it's a honey pot.
Yes.
Do you think it could be a custom honey pot? Mr. Gallenback, you disappeared for a moment.
Ah, I hate you so much right now, Will. I hate you. Oh man, there was some late night poo conversations that were some of the best parts.
I don't think I'll ever
weekend.
forget Chris's face when I busted it out when we were night fishing, and I just leaned over and busted out Winnie the Pooh, and his face was horror mixed with shock, mixed with a little bit of love. So there was he didn't quite know why he felt that way, but
I'm still confused about it.
When you started calling him Christopher, it was like he didn't know how to wrestle with his childhood for a while there. So we have, which Will got one of these because he's one of our Patreon guys. This has been one of the favorite things we've sent out. They're these cool little tactical backpacks, sling bags. They've got concealed carry options if that's something you're into. I know our buddy Casey has taken it when he's been skeet shooting, and I know Corey took one to the range as well for some of his stuff. They're just super cool bags. I used mine for my fly fishing bag when we went up to Taylor, so they're just kind of cool, versatile bags.
I used mine when I went surf fishing at the beach, fly surf fishing. So I took it with me, and because the adjustable strap makes it really nice, so I pulled it actually a little bit higher so that the waves wouldn't get it wet in the back.
Nice.
Perfect. Worked perfectly.
There you go.
Versatile bag.
Yeah, I love it. So if you're tuned in tonight, and we're going to I'll take a look at whoever the last comment is when we kind of end this live. But if you were tuned in tonight, when we do our next video, I may just do go live and do a drawing for someone to win one of those bags. So make sure you comment if you haven't already. Tonight we're up to 13. Like Chris and I did an entire video last time with 0 people, so this is like new for us.
We're fancy.
So,
Josh is. I'm gonna push it out again because I did send a notice. So maybe also look at post comments too. If people watch later and comment delayed, if they watch the video, maybe.
All right, let's go through. Let's give it a week. We'll go 1 week. I like that. Yeah, because there's some people not tuned in.
You know what Josh is going to do if he wins that, right? He's going to put a dead animal and fireball on that bad boy.
Yeah, that's right. So our buddy Josh from Royal Point Outdoors is tuned in. We did a video with him. Will probably didn't watch it because it was early when we were trying to do this. But Josh got shot by a shotgun out turkey hunting. And we got to interview him about that experience. So you should check that video out too. It's crazy.
Go back to that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well,
so
we got corrected.
I don't know. Oh, they were watching because Jeremy tried to call us like 6 times during the live.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Sorry, Jeremy. Jeez.
So the last thing I'll say, well, subscribe. That's the YouTube way. We're trying to put out videos. We're getting better. We're improving. We're 2 years in, and we're almost figuring this out. But I will progress. That's right. I will say that, and I think Will, as a supporter, would back this up. We do send out decent swag to all.
Shockingly good swag.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So we just got these in. This is going to come out with our Christmas stuff. This is part of what will be going in that, which I love these. Will knows, but Melissa Makes, who does a lot of their stuff, also did these for us, which she hand painted the red X in all of the stinking patches. Like she goes above and beyond. So we have those. Those will be coming out as part of the Christmas swag edition. There will be a couple other fun things with that. And so if you go to patreon.com/8 times up outdoors, we only have 2 levels. It's like small fry and a keeper, I think. It's something somewhat creative. I don't remember what they are.
Maybe I ought to rename it to a brim.
Yeah, that's right. So it's like 5.
What are these breams?
Breams. I don't know what that is. $5 and $10 levels. If you sign up, you get cool Patreon swag in the mail. We usually send it out 3 or 4 times a year and try to do different stuff at each one. So there's some cool stuff you can get signed up with. Yeah, thank you, Clint, for saying this. Top level swag. We try. It's the only thing we're good at this point. So not fishing, not YouTube videos, but it's good. So Chris, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Thank you for everybody that joined in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and Will, thank you so much for jumping on. And hopefully I get a text, in the next 6 months with some flight information for Colorado again. So
I will say, and I said this when Grease and I did our live show, kind of me recapping my stories to him, though, what was probably better than the fishing, than the food, everything was seeing the fact that, there were probably 10 people ish there, 10 to 12 varying throughout the time. And almost everyone has a long connection to each other from where y'all are from. And I'm this random dude from Tennessee that shows up in a Chevy Spark. And other than Nate and Utai, who I've gotten to know over the years, every single person welcomed this random person that drove up in the clown car as if I'd been coming for years and years. And that's not easy. It's not easy to walk into that situation, but it's not easy to necessarily just fully accept someone on night one as, hey man, this is a part of it. So I don't know. That was really cool to go out and be a part of this and see how well you guys knew each other, but also that it was so welcoming. So I just thank you guys for having me, and I do look forward to getting back out there. So
yeah, I mean, you're part of the family now, but it did help that you showed up with beer and a Winnie the Pooh voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so.
I gave away all my secrets early.
All right. On that note, thank you all so much for tuning in. Man, up to 4, we're getting more people. This is awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you comment. Yeah, I like Will's plan. We're gonna give it a week, and then we'll give away some more swag at the end of this week. If you want to make sure you get some of the cool stuff we send out, head over to patreon.com, follow Instagram, all those places. Go check out the podcast on all the social medias as well. And then until next time, what is our thing? Tight lines, cool cans?
Cool
Something
cans.
like that. Yeah, that's right. We'll see you guys later.